I would like to show the last game of this book because it was played between Boris Kogan and Shirazi. Boris Kogan was a famous international master, nearly strong as a grandmaster in the 80s, and he was living here in Georgia. Shirazi also was a kind of player that was coming up very strong, and then he disappeared. And now let's go to the game. So Kogan is white and Shirazi is black. This game was played at the US Championship in Estes Park in 1986. D4, knight f6, c4, d6, knight c3, and bishop f5. This opening is considered the old Indian defense. Okay, let's see if we can remove a little bit. Quite an unusual opening leading to unique position, but this time it is a logical developing move. Shirazi also studied and tested the opening ahead of time. In my database this move is much more successful than the common 3g6. So generally it's common to play this, but this is also a good developing move. Knight f3, g6. Shirazi is one of the fourth players to try this, whereas now it is the most popular move in this somewhat offbeat position. The g-pawn restricts the bishop, but also guards it. It is not so easy for white to take advantage. g3, knight e4, strange but strong. The occupation of e4 makes it hard for white to achieve the e2-e4 advance, which is what white most wants to accomplish. Knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and bishop g2. Here it says that maybe bishop h3 is better. Okay, but it doesn't explain why it's better, because the thing is, if black is not going to actually castle on that side, I don't know. Maybe because he is able to attack that bishop somehow, I don't know. Oh. So bishop g2, bishop g7, castle, castle, bishop e3, and c5. b5 is interesting because clearly he's trying to open the diagonal. Knight h4, bishop takes g2, knight takes g2, and queen b6. Conventional thinking and intuition would suggest that it is imprudent to place the queen on the same diagonal as the enemy bishop. But Shirazi has calculated that it will not be a problem, and so decides to fight directly for the important d4 square. d takes e5, d takes e5, rook b1, rook d8, queen c1, knight c6, knight f4, and queen a5. An extremely irritating attack against the stupid, unguarded a-pawn. a3, e6, b4, c takes b4, a takes b4, queen a4, knight d3, b6, c5, and b5. Leaving white with a protected pass pawn might not seem like the most natural decision, but Shirazi knight is already perfectly placed to deal with it. Well, it's perfectly placed because the light square bishop is gone. Bishop f4, e5, bishop g5, rook d4. So everybody is attacking before. This was probably overlooked or underestimated by Kogan. Shirazi has no trouble moving his rook forward, and in case of bishop e3 is met by rook c4, wedging the rook in deeper. This maneuver is reminiscent of several of his 1984 games, with the important difference that it actually works. Well, it seems, however, a hindsight thing, because probably in that time Shirazi and Kogan couldn't have access to the games so easily, while today, probably with ChessBase, they could see it immediately, how many times Shirazi played that line or Kogan played the other line. Bishop h6, queen a2, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, rook b2, queen d5, queen b1, h5, h4, g5. Not the best, but it is much better than it looks. With such domination in the center and white pieces hugging the back row, black can get away with a lot. Knight e1. e4 is dubious. This will fall against the best defense or fail. Knight g2, again a dubious move. It seems it was better knight c2, and it makes sense because it defends and attack, but probably much better, though I don't think it's worth going into all the variation. Well, okay, knight g2. And now, let's see, rook d8, queen c1, f6, queen c3, king g6, h takes g5, f takes g5, knight e3, queen e6, king g2, h4, rook h1, h takes g3, f takes g3, knight e5, rook c2, knight c4, knight takes c4, and rook takes c4, queen b2, e3. Wow. So far white has defended very well, but he is under increasing pressure. And now there is a mistake. It seems that white played rook h-c1, a big blunder. Instead, the move to play was rook takes c4. So let's see, rook takes c1, h-c1, check. Maybe at this point he was in Zeitnot, in time trouble, right? King g1, rook c d4, queen a1, they are fighting for here, rook h8, fighting for a checkmate, queen a6, king f5, rook f1, king g4, a lovely little king walk to finish the game, rook f3, rook d1, king g2, and of course now there is the final move, that is rook d h1. Not a very clean game, but that's not what Shirazi or this book is about. This time, though, his creativity, aggression and optimism were tempered with reason and practicality. And this is the end of this book. I hope you will enjoy it. It has a lot of games and a lot of material to think about.